I think people need to introspect and like really walk the talk. If we're talking about change is uncomfortable. Like, it doesn't come on a silver platter. You're going to lose friends because you stand for something. You're going to be at odds with your family because you stand for something.
Hello, Yes people. Welcome to another episode of the Yes Girls, where we, Claire
and Akumu,
say yes to doing, being, or learning something new and documenting our journeys. Do you find yourself wishing you knew the right thing to say?
do you want to be able to tell if someone is over the moon or down in the dumps just with a look or a few words?
We can't promise any of that, but with this episode, we can try and give you some tips to learn how to exercise a little bit more of a life-saving skill.
And that's because for this season, we are saying yes to in-studio challenges to get to grips with must-have 21st century skills. And this episode's challenge is saying yes to...
Learning emotional intelligence.
Let's do it.
But before we go any further, how about a quick review of a recent episode?
So, Adelle Onyango said, I would never read my old diaries out loud, and I cringe so much, even reading them myself. So, kudos. She's, of course, referring to our recent Yespisode where we read out some decade-old...
Not we, you. You read out your diaries, none of mine.
Yeah, yours soon. So, yeah, I read out some decade-old diary entries. Cringe. Apparently, it really struck a chord.
So if you've not yet rated and reviewed us, you can go and do it. Please do. It really does help others to discover the show, and then they can be forever grateful to you for bringing a little more yes into their lives.
Anyway, time to get on with this episode and meet today's expert.
This season, it's all about what we can do in studio, so we make it even more blindingly obvious that you and we can say yes to something new, even if you're short on time.
Today, we are honored to have none other than Adelle Onyango in studio with us. Where have you seen or heard of her? Could be from her award-winning podcast, which is under Legally Clueless Africa.
Could be from her billboards dotted around Nairobi advertising skincare products. And she does have wonderful skin.
Or maybe it's from her book, or even her radio days. Or better yet, from your social media feed.
So many places you might have come across Adelle. But Adelle, tell us, where can we find you when you're at your most emotionally intelligent? And maybe you can tell us something that listeners don't already know about you.
Oh my goodness. First, thank you so much for that nice intro. Just like need to update my CV. So where you can find me most emotional intelligent, such an interesting question. I would have to say when I'm alone. Mm-hmm. You know, I feel like whenever I experience moments with people and like maybe you note something, or if you've hung out with people and you think, did I overshare or did I say the wrong thing, or did that person's energy change, and what did it mean? I feel like I'm most calm and I'm able to be very rational with my emotions when I'm alone, for sure. And one thing people don't know about me, well, before we started recording, we were talking about the gym and sports and running. And so I swam in the Kenya national swimming team
for
all of primary school. In high school, because I moved to Botswana, I swam in the Botswana national team. I think we were only 2 Black people in the Botswana national team. And then I came back home and I started teaching younger students in St. Mary's, coaching them how to swim. So
interesting. Wow.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a lot lazier now, but so not many people know about that, but like, yeah.
But you still swim, right?
I swim for leisure now, and I swim because it's like the only time my mind is silent. Like I literally was telling my therapist, it's the only time I hear in my head. As an overthinker, that's like heaven.
Yeah.
So I swim now not for physical, but more for like mental wellness.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because we've done an episode on saying yes to pole dancing where I taught Akumu pole dancing, and that's the only time where my mind doesn't switch off, but I'm just focused on that and I'm not thinking about anything else. Like when I run, I'm thinking about to-do lists and ideas, and I get back and have to like write down loads of ideas. But I get you with the having an activity where you can just be present.
100%. And I love swimming for that. And it's like, it's exercise without pain. Like I don't wake up the next morning like hating my trainer and like swearing never to go back in the gym. And I sleep so well. And I don't know, I just, whenever I swim, I wonder, why do people choose the gym over this?
Actually, it's that because I always feel strange when someone says they're swimming. Like, it explains it because very few people actually do it just because.
It is wonderful. And like, I mean, I don't swim as often now because I've moved, but like before I used to swim near the club I was a member at, and I'd be like the youngest person there doing laps. It would always be like people in their 60s and 70s, and I'd just be like, hey, what's happening here? Am I in the wrong place or are you in the
So this gives me an idea for future episodes.
Yes,
'Cause
exactly.
Swimming is also a key 21st century life-saving skill.
This
totally
is true.
is.
Yeah. This is
This is why
true.
I've actually started my 5.5-month-old in swimming classes.
I think it's very
4 months.
important.
That's why Leo was in studio
That's why
last
he was in
time.
the studio last time, because he'd just come from a swimming class, and I couldn't send him home on
It's
his own.
important. I feel like
Yeah.
even for kids, like because now it's like for them to know just in case of any mishaps.
Yeah.
They learn. I remember when I used to swim competitively, all the kids who were better than us as a school swimming team, they were like, oh, I started when I was 4, when I was 5, and we started when we were 6, 7. And so they had such a head start, you know, and this was a time like at 4, my mom would be like, no, stay away from water. I don't need. But kids, it's so similar to being in the womb that they kind of like, they're not scared. They adapt faster. So yeah, kudos to you for starting early.
Yeah, that's like super early. Wow.
All right, so aside from swimming, this episode we are actually going to be carrying out a challenge. As judge, challenger, and all-seeing, all-knowing guest expert, she'll then rate us, and then we'll get to hear a bit more from you about your professional trajectory and your top tips for exercising that most elusive of exercises, which is emotional intelligence. So it's time to work on our EQ, Akumu.
So Adele, please tell us what our challenge is, and we have 15 minutes to do it.
Okay, this one is difficult. I'm just going to look forward so that none of you is like, why did you give me that? Okay, so the two of you are in a relationship. It's a long-term relationship, so it's pretty serious. Akumu, you are the man. It's a hetero relationship.
This is
Okay.
tough. Okay.
And you have had a long-running argument because whenever you tell Claire that you want to know when she's reached a certain place, so where she's, who she's hanging out with and where, she takes it as you're being controlling. And you have been trying to explain that you just want to know and that you think it's normal in relationships to have to know these things, right? And so we're in your home. Do you guys live together? No, you don't.
Okay, this makes it more interesting.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
you don't live together. But Claire has come over to visit, and it's after a couple of days when she did that thing. She didn't say where she was. She didn't say when she'd gotten home, and you felt like you were badgering her for this information. And Claire, you feel like Akumu is being controlling and possessive, and that's something you don't enjoy in relationships. And action.
Wow. I have to step into a man's head.
And we're working towards finding a solution.
You're
here, right?
working towards finding a solution.
So this is, okay, let me time it.
Which could be our values are different. And
So we
they
just need
can't.
to get into an
Or
agreement
the
of
solution
sorts.
could be, I'm done.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like
I
our
can't do
values
this
are
anymore.
different. Because I think both of you have like fair points.
Okay.
To be very honest.
All right.
Okay, I'm timing it 15 minutes. Go on. Okay, so what's my name? Do you want to give me a special
damn.
name? Or Claire? You want to choose a
do you
name?
wanna...
What's the name you've always wanted to
Andy?
date?
Oh,
It's so strange.
I don't want to cause an actual issue with my real husband by
Right.
saying the name of a guy I would have wanted to date. No.
You'll have to go and
Saxo.
exercise these
Saxo.
skills.
Saxo, I hope you're not listening. Okay, tell us.
I'll call you Saxo. No, you can just stay at Akumu, no?
I have to get into the role.
Jerome.
Jerome.
Jerome. Okay.
What about you?
You're the girl, right?
Amy.
Amy.
Yes.
Okay.
Classic name. Okay, so wait, Amy. I didn't know you went out on Wednesday. You didn't tell me that you did. Like, I think you've just mentioned it. It just came up in a WhatsApp chat that you went out, and I had no idea. I didn't even know where you are, who you're with.
Okay, but I don't have to tell you everywhere I go, do I?
It's just good for me to know. Because
But why? What's it going to change?
I just want to take care, to be sure that you're safe, you're okay, and you're with good people. Because we know what happened last year, right?
What happened?
You were with some crazy friends, and then someone got drunk, someone got arrested. You remember that?
It wasn't me. I didn't do anything.
But you were with the wrong crowd. So just,
Okay.
I think because of that thing that happened last year, I'm just scared that it's going to happen again. And you know Nairobi, you're a woman, right? Things are...
Okay, right. I'm going to try and see this from your point of view, right? Because
Okay.
right now I want to lash out and tell you it's none of your business. You should be able to trust me. But I get that you're worried. But me telling you everything, every step of the way, is not going to prevent anything from happening. It's not like an interactive video game where you get to decide my next step, right?
But can you still tell me what happened on Wednesday first, before we continue?
I went out with some friends.
Where? And with who?
Where did
Do
we
I
go?
know them?
I think I've told you about them for sure. I've definitely told you about them.
Who and who?
Are we really doing this?
Yes, I think
You need to
I know most of your friends, and I just
Yes,
need to know who
exactly.
you are with.
Okay, I was with my friends, Adelle and Akumu. Mm-hmm. Okay, we went out for some drinks, but I'm not even drinking, so I had like a hibiscus mocktail thing.
Was it
And
planned or
then-
not?
Yeah, we planned it like the day before.
Oh,
Because I
and
saw you on Monday, and then we planned this
and
on
we
Tuesday.
spoke on Wednesday and on Tuesday night.
Yes,
you
we
didn't
did.
mention it.
I didn't because we were talking about many other things.
Were you trying to hide it from me?
Why would you think I would hide things from
I
you?
don't, because now
talk
I'm knowing about it like
everything. We
3
talk
days
about
later.
everything. I would have mentioned it to you had it come up or had it been relevant.
So what
I
happened?
have nothing to hide from you. I just hung out with some girlfriends. To be honest, we spend most of the time talking about our boyfriends. If I'm honest.
I hope good things.
We spent most of the time talking about our boyfriends.
And you said it was planned, right? So what was the
Yeah,
occasion?
we planned it the day before.
Mm-hmm.
One of them just on the group chat just said they didn't have plans and we hadn't seen each other for a while, so we went out. So of course I was not going to invite you because it was girlfriends hanging out. I didn't tell you just because it didn't come up. Honestly, I was not hiding anything from you. I told you what I had for lunch yesterday, so it's not that I don't tell you the details of my life, but that event was just a me thing that I did for me, and it felt good. And I was not intending to exclude you. I was not intending to hide anything from you. I remember we spoke probably before I went out, but we were talking about plans for the weekend, so it just didn't come up. I wasn't trying to hide it from you.
No, you see, okay, so it makes me feel like you are trying to hide it because we spoke right before you went out, right? And you had planned it. So you spoke twice. We spoke on Tuesday night and then we also spoke on the day. That's why it feels like, like something you premeditated, right? That's why I feel like this.
Okay. I hear you, and I'm not going to deny that you felt that way. I'm not going to invalidate your feelings because if someone did that to me, I would be upset. If someone invalidated my feelings, okay? So I'm sorry that I made you feel that way, and I did not intend to. But at the same time, I can't commit right now to telling you everything that I do because I'm going to be quite busy doing those things, right? There's days where I don't even have time to have lunch. And, I normally eat 5 times a day. So if I don't have time to have lunch, I'm probably not going to have time to tell you I'm about to go and meet my friends for a drink because I'm probably driving to meet them.
So
right?
if the roles were reversed, how would that play out? Like, do you want to know everywhere I'm at?
Even if I would like to, I know it's not realistic, sweetheart.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I call you sweetheart.
Thank you. We are fighting. I don't want to be
I don't call mine. But we're fighting, but I'm trying to make sure that we're staying calm and focused, like trying to find a solution, right? Mm-hmm. And the solution, I don't think it's realistic for me to commit to telling you everything I'm doing. If you call me and I can pick up, I will answer and I will tell you where I am. No problem. Mm-hmm. But me consciously being able to commit to doing that, I don't want to commit to it and then disappoint you and then make it feel like I'm not doing something that we agreed to.
Okay, but so maybe the compromise, I think I would feel better if, yes, you went out on Wednesday, but it should come up consciously, like, by today you should have mentioned, by the way, on Wednesday I went out. It shouldn't just come up like, when we went out on Wednesday, like a part-time, like a side thing, to another, what's it called? Another discussion, right? So, and I think I want to do the same for you, right? If I go out with the boys and I don't tell you on the day, then the next day I'll try to mention it. Mm-hmm. Does that work?
But what's the limit there? Like if I'm going, I don't know, I'm going to visit a friend because they're feeling really down and it's not planned and I don't tell you. And then the next day you find out, will that upset you?
No. But because that's unplanned. But I think everything that's planned, it's good for me to know at some point, right? Somehow. Before, and if it's unplanned, you tell me after. But I think before would be good if it's a big thing, kind of.
But you see, going out with a couple of girlfriends for an evening isn't, to me, that's not a big thing.
Mm-hmm. So what would you
but we normally,
call big?
Like I would love, for me, what's important is like rituals, like little rituals, not telling you everything I'm doing, but like a good night. Like I love our good night kiss. If I don't get our good night kiss when we're together, I feel like something's missing and I feel like you're not fully there for me. So maybe, if we're not doing the good night kiss, we can do like a good night call, even if it's just good night, I love you. And if there's something that's happened that day, then we can say it at that point. And if we're too busy for the call, it can be a little message just when we're going to sleep, because we're not falling asleep immediately, our head hits the pillow. Yeah. So maybe, even if I don't tell you before, can it be we do that little goodnight kiss, and then maybe that would satisfy both of us?
Yes. And if anything has to be said, by the way, in touch today, it can be said then.
Yeah, like,
so that's the
how's your day?
Ritual.
Yeah.
Okay. It works. Does that work for you if I'm out with the boys?
If you're out with the boys, how do you do a good night call?
Because there's no call, right? So if I send you a photo with the boys, would that work?
Yeah, even if it's a message. But then you see, if you're not on the call and I've had an impromptu girls' night out, then I guess we know that before the other normally goes to sleep, we can have a little message and say, I've gone out with the girls, or I hope you had a good day. This was my highlight. I don't know. Will that really work? Will that satisfy?
I think for me it would help because I need to know, insecure attachment and all.
That's why you need it, you think?
Yes.
Is it maybe not better we see like what's causing that and how can I help you to?
Yes, I think we can figure that out. How can I help you
to overcome that?
Yes, we can figure that out as well. But if it's a long-standing thing, we need a solution for
like a Band-Aid solution.
Yes. Until therapy.
Yeah. Yeah, because like I said, you don't need to be worried. I mean, I love you, right? You're my boo.
You know who I don't trust? Your friends.
But you trust
your
me.
friends? Yes.
And I've chosen those friends.
Yes. But last year, what happened? Yes.
But I wasn't even involved.
But you were in the situation, your friends were arrested.
Yes, but they were
next to you.
making stupid choices.
Oh, so should they be your friends?
I love them, even if I don't agree with everything that they do. In the same way that I love you, but sometimes you don't make a choice that I agree with.
That's true.
Like
and I know you hate my friends as well, so...
I don't hate your friends. We are even. I do not hate your friends.
I think you hate mine more than I hate you.
I don't
than
hate
I dislike
them
yours.
at all. I don't necessarily get along with all of them. I
You
don't
talk
want to hang out.
shit about Jacob.
Yeah, but Jacob
all the
tries to
time.
hit on me. And I'm literally in front of my boyfriend. Like, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with him?
You should feel flattered.
Doesn't that make... Anyway, that's a whole other issue. Let's not get into that
He's
now.
a childhood friend. I know he can't do anything. It's fine.
I hope not, because I did never want you leaving me in a room with him. See, that makes me more uncomfortable than going out with my actual friends, who I know they've got my back, right?
Okay.
Whereas if he's around here and you leave the room, I'm not comfortable being in the room with him. That should make you more worried.
So if I'm out with him, how would you feel?
If you're out with him, I'm not worried. He's not going to hit on you.
But you know his mannerisms. Would
Yeah,
that
but
be
I trust you.
like? Would that be an outing that you'd really want to know? Like a Jacob outing, you want to know?
No.
Okay,
'Cause
so
I
you're
trust
good
you.
either way.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, you're fine. I mean, if you have a great time, I'd love to know about it, because generally I want to tell you about stuff that's happened to me and the good things, right? Like, when anything nice happens in my life, I look forward to chatting with you about it, right? Next time we hang out, or when we're lying in bed, pillow talking. Is that a verb? Pillow talking?
Yeah, it is. I think we're 4 minutes left, but I think we have solutions.
But we really do need the long-term solution, yeah?
Long term.
Yeah, like finding, like helping you to feel less insecure. Because you
That's-
don't need to feel insecure.
That's
like
a therapy thing. I think
I
that
know.
takes a long time.
Yeah.
It's like
And
it's
I
like,
know me
it's like
telling
telling
you-
someone to change
Yes, I
who
get
they
that.
are. You know.
I get that. I can't just tell you to not be insecure.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I know some of your previous girlfriends have screwed you over. I'm not them. I'm not.
I know. I'll try and see you in different lenses, but there are certain situations that just trigger me, right? Because Amy cheated on me in a club when she was out with friends, right?
I am Amy.
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna be like, we have a bigger issue here, guys. Amy.
Sorry. Esther.
You could have said Claire. Like, just low-hanging fruit.
I'm thinking of
Don't reinvent
names
the
out
wheel.
there, and I came up with Esther. Wow. Okay. Yeah, you remember how Claire cheated on me in a club, and she lied about not
Yes.
going out, and then she was out. So
I know,
I'll
but
try
that's-
to separate those two.
Yeah,
things.
I'm not, like, we can do it together, right? We can, if you want me to come along, I don't know if it's better for you to go to therapy alone or for me to come with you.
I think
Guess
we'll
it-
do together. Why not?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm down for that. I'm in this for the long haul, babe.
Yeah, it's been 5 years. I think we should do therapy together.
5 years? And you still don't trust me? Jeez.
Amy, get out.
I'm done. I can't do this anymore, Amy.
I know. I love you. What's your name again? Jerome. You forgot I was Amy, all right?
Well, I dated another Amy, remember? I've dated 2 Amy's.
You only date Amy's.
Okay.
Right, done. Back to being Claire and Akumu.
Back to being a woman. Okay.
Okay. How is that right as a man?
Well, I literally... Okay, so the story about friends, bad friends and getting
Yeah.
arrested, that's I've just collected from one of my friends. It was
Yeah.
a scenario I was collecting. But I was also trying to put myself in... I was trying to remove... I don't know how to explain it. The way women, we overthink things, but... men are more into, they'll compartmentalize this one thing, right? So I was trying to only see that one problem and trying to dig deep into it, not
Yeah.
to bring other things around it too much. That's why I was trying to dig deep. I was saying, why? And last year, this happened, but it was
Yeah.
tough. I don't know how man I was, how much of a man I was.
I don't know either, but like it's a tricky situation, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think I give you guys a situation I've been in. 'Cause
What happened?
like legit, like I will always forget to say when I've arrived somewhere or like, yeah. And it's not, I think, especially if it's work, because when I arrive there, I'm thinking about like either what I'm going to say on stage or like, I'm not thinking about the last moments. I'm really now in the present
Yeah.
moment, you know? And so I never really used to understand it. I'd just be like, whatever. if my then partner brought it up, I'll just be like, that's weird. Anyway. And so I put you guys in that situation. I feel like, obviously, with age, I can understand, and like, I felt like Jerome. You were going there and then you didn't. And there's the element of saying, when you do this, I feel this. So I feel like, Jerome, you were getting there. It's something that I think is very important in relationships when you're bringing up things that maybe you're unsettled with, is to say, when you do this, I feel this. You know what I mean? And so, like, you were like, oh, it's because I need to know about your safety, and I don't trust your friends, and that's like dancing around the issue. The issue is, I feel this, and when you present the feeling, then we can unpack it. So if you're saying, I feel left out, or I feel it triggers my insecurities, then we can start talking about Esther who cheated on you, and we can now have that conversation, right?
Yeah.
And so then we're not wasting time talking about the friend who got arrested or whatever. Now we know it's this thing. And I feel like you, Amy, I was going to call you Esther, did a great job at communicating your feelings, but also and with care, communicating what you're not. It's easy to end an argument by saying, sawa, I'm going to do that. I'm going to, knowing damn well you have no intention of doing that, but you're just like, this will shut him up. I'll agree to it. And I like that you didn't commit to things that you're like, this is not feasible for me. And I think when you present back to the feeling thing, because like I have a pretty anxious attachment. And so when you're aware of it, what I've realized is it's not my partner's responsibility to come or like tiptoe around my triggers, right? I have to take the lead, right? And I have to, and it takes long. I mean, there's some days I'm just like, I think this is just how I'm going to be for a while. Get used to it. And so I have to do the work of catching myself. What they do is they treat me tenderly because they understand that there's this thing that gets triggered. And so she may be acting this way. It's not because she doesn't trust me, or she's just jumped to conclusions because she enjoys jumping. Like, it's something else. But I have to take accountability for that. And I feel like in relationships, the more we just are very honest about the way the actions our partners make us feel, the faster we get to a solution. You know what I mean? But like, honestly, with very, very many men, you will hear them stay away from, it makes me feel this way, because then that sounds like, oh, I'm not a man, like, what am I talking about? But like, we all feel, and we all, like, you know what, like, we all want to know. I see it with, like, I don't know, I see it with different guys, like, even the ones who claim, like, I don't want to know where you're at. Like, you know, do your own thing. I'm not this, I'm not that. And the moment you say, you know, I was at, the questions coming, oh, when? With who? Did you have fun? Like, and you're just like, bro, if you just like, it's fine. It's fine to
care.
Feel, you know what I mean?
It's fine to feel,
It doesn't mean that you're less than. And so I loved this dialogue. I hope it helps, you know, people in relationships. I think, Claire, you are the winner.
Definitely. I'm trying to argue with her and she's making me feel loved. I was like,
geez. Sweethearts. In an argument, there's no room for sweethearts.
I was like, Jesus, I want to start dating her.
Who is the sweetheart?
For the record, this is not how I am in my actual relationship, okay? I am irrational as hell.
Because first and foremost, I am a last born. Like, when it comes to tantrums, I've had years of experience. Right. Like, you can't handle me.
Oh.
So
I stopped the car in the middle of busy roads before and said, fine, get out of the car here.
So this is like your higher self.
This This is hypothetical me in a role play. Yes, I know all the tricks.
Your husband is probably listening like,
Yeah,
Amy?
Yeah. Who's this Amy? I want to marry her.
Saxo is laughing his head off.
He's going to go out looking for Amy now because she sounds
sometimes,
wonderful.
listen, it's just like my therapist always says, like the person you're in love with and like you're in a relationship with is the one who's going to trigger you the most. They're going to bring out sides of you. Like I have had a tantrum. I think this was sometime last year that I even had to say, hey, you think you're angry? Me, I'm scared myself. Like I didn't know I had it in me. I'm just like, I knew I was good at tantrums, but this is like some to play.
But it's true. And I think that's the problem that we have, non-violent communication, which is the whole, like, I feel this way.
Yeah.
We learn about it in work, right? Maybe we
Yeah.
learn about it in therapy, but with our family and our
Yes.
love relationships,
Yeah.
they are the ones who see the worst of us, right?
Totally.
You can be charming at work or to your friends, and then you turn around and you treat your family like crap.
Exactly.
And you should be allowed to do that to a certain extent. You should be allowed to show your biggest vulnerabilities and your dark side, but you shouldn't use them like a doormat. You shouldn't use them to wipe all the crap off from the day, right? Which I often do, and my husband does it too. Right?
Yeah.
It's not healthy.
And then you should just foster a space where you both can be seen. I think a lot of the times, I don't know if this is gendered, but I know for me, I was very conceited in relationships. I remember being in therapy, just like, and then he did, and like my therapy called me out, like, and then you did, and then it's like, wait, like I have issues, and just realizing that a lot of the times, sometimes some of the things you're asking for, you're not giving, and you've not even asked, how do they like love or care communicated to them,
Yes.
I think a lot of the times, even like the very like one way we have this conversation online about like if he didn't wake up to a good morning text, like ladies, right? If he didn't send you a good morning text, if you're in a straight relationship, we feel sorry for you, whatever. And I'm always like, but I feel like everybody wants to know, especially in the morning. It's not gendered. I'm pretty sure there's a few guys who want to wake up to good morning texts, right? Like you feel like, oh, she thought about me, or like if he's going for an interview, like send him good luck or like something to like get him knowing that there's someone rooting for him. And so I feel like in relationships you have to see each other as humans before any gender rules are assigned, if you want to assign them at all,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think even if it's a long-term relationship, I think we were talking as if we have seen issues come up. That's why we sounded kind of like more mature. I think for me, in my own situation, there's a long on and off thing I was in, but it really helped me. Yes, we were triggering each other like crazy, but it was like every argument, we were getting better at solving things. Because you're like, okay, last time I didn't say I feel.
Yeah.
Maybe next time I'll say I feel.
Yeah.
And then the next time I will talk shit in paragraphs and stuff, and then I'll try to improve.
Yeah.
Like it's not linear.
I call them like progressive arguments, right? And like if you are arguing about the same thing in the same style, in the same format, like you're not progressing. And then if you don't realize that it's the two of you arguing against the issue, it's not like me versus you, and it's like, oh, I have 10 marks now, and like you're a 0. It's like this thing is threatening us, so it has to be us against this particular thing. In arguments, it can be very easy to forget that, but like if you sit back, if you love someone, you're not going out of your way to make them feel bad. There's something you're battling, and that's the thing. The relationship, both of you are meant to be fighting, not each other.
Although in the moment, I think like that,
dude.
I am out for blood.
Let me tell you, relationships, now that I'm older, like they have taught me how to apologize. I really learned how to apologize. There's a point back I was like, hey, it's like I've apologized so many times. Can't you? Can I just give you one in January and then it lasts until we renew it in December or something? But like they really teach you that a lot of because I'm very stubborn, and so it teaches you to see each other as humans. There's like a lot of crap we dish to our partners that we wouldn't take. And so it's just like, why are you dishing out what you can't take? But yeah, I really think you handled that argument very well, Amy.
Thank
a little
you.
too well. I was like, this is why I'm with her.
If only
5 years. Can you put a ring on it? What are you waiting for?
If arguments
I was
were
about
like
to
this,
propose.
like they had a beginning and an end and a time limit, in a way that would probably be a healthy way to have an argument. Like I
Actually.
should try that. Like
15
we
minutes.
have 15 minutes to just vent,
Yeah.
right? And then we have to find a solution. Because like you said, if you're just having the same argument of the same thing over and over again and it's not progressing, then there's no point in having that
It means you're not talking about the real thing. Like, what is the real
But you
thing?
do
And you're
know-
probably just attacking each other.
Yeah.
But you
and
do
you're
know
not
that
trying
would
to find
only
a
work
solution.
if the guy is not a shutdown person. No,
Oh, yeah,
I've had
that's
those
true.
ones where you're trying
Yes.
to talk and they're just like, I can't do this.
Oh my goodness.
No,
But
you know,
again,
that's
That one
you can't do
brings
anything.
the last born out of me.
That's when now you start.
But what I've learned
Bombastic.
also, right? Like before, I used to be like, oh, well, I'm going to switch it up. You can't disconnect forever. So if I make it hotter, you're going to have to rise up.
That
So
doesn't
we're
work.
going, you know what I mean? And it's just like, with time, I had to understand people have different personalities, right? And so, for example, I don't like people shouting. And so I shut down. Anger is an emotion I'm still learning how to process. So if you make me angry, I cry most of the times. And even if you make me feel an emotion, a heightened emotion, or if you hurt me, it can take me 2 weeks to like a month to understand my feelings and to get to a point where I can articulate them. And sometimes it's taken me, I've had huge blowouts in my family where maybe 6 months to a year later is when I'm like, hey, now I know why I feel like that. Like, you did this, and like everybody's moved on, right? But in an intimate relationship, what that means is like, I don't speak in the moment, right? And I take some time out. My best form of communication is written. And so I have to write it out either for myself or for you. Because on the paper, I can see, where my triggers are, where it's a me thing that I'm presenting as a you thing. You know what I mean? And then I can be able to articulate it. And now that I have an understanding that that's how I operate, and thank God my partner understands that, I kind of like give credit or allow people to be themselves, right? And so the people who shut down and like, are they called like avoidance?
Avoidance, yes.
But is it detached, something avoidance? There's like a D word, I can't remember it. I'm just like, that's just how you are. The same way I take a while to think about it. So I'm at that point where I'm learning to be like, let people be who they are. It's okay for you to feel frustrated by how they are, but what's not okay is for you to try and change how they are, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay, like, feel frustrated, like,
Yes.
sit and just be like, this dude is driving me mad, call your
Yeah.
best friend and like,
Or you don't want the conflict to be around the fact that you have different styles of coping, because
Exactly.
that's not something you can necessarily change.
Exactly.
Like the role play there, we like clearly he has trust issues. Right?
Exactly.
And I'm not necessarily going to change that of him, but how can I reassure him or meet him halfway? Because for me, I find it stifling in that
Yeah.
role play. I
Yeah.
find it stifling. That's not things like love languages, that
Attachment styles.
attachment styles, right, in relationships. There's all those ways of categorizing, and those sometimes can help you to understand who you're talking to find a solution. Because otherwise,
Exactly.
if you just think we disagree and you don't try and see it from the other person's perspective, to me that's a big thing that I'm taking away from what you're saying about how to exercise emotional intelligence, is try and understand the other person, where they're coming from, take time out, right, to reflect. I think that's a huge part of emotional intelligence, to not react, but to process.
And it's
right?
okay for you to feel like, so now I allow myself to be frustrated by a partner who has like a personality type or an attachment type that is frustrating my personality. So I think a lot of the time we feel like, oh, we'll just bottle up the frustration or whatever. And then it blows out. So even on your end, like feel the frustration. You can feel it without having to go and try and change someone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Although now I come into an issue where the curse of knowledge, where you know all these things, you know, attachment styles and everything. So in an argument, you are coming, you see, you are avoidant.
Yeah.
But you're not handling, you're
Yeah.
not coming with solutions.
Yeah.
You're pointing out the problems.
That's terrible because the thing is, like, no one, even in like a workplace, it's just ineffective communication.
Yeah.
If you ask me, like if you're pointing out all the wrong things, people are going to get defensive, and it doesn't. You could be the best person, but if somebody is pointing at your weaknesses, you are going to get defensive. And once somebody gets defensive, that conversation is not going
happening.
anywhere.
Yeah, and you're no longer trying to find a solution.
Yeah.
And you're no longer exercising that non-violent communication of I feel this way or this makes me feel this way.
Yeah.
You're saying you are this, you're doing this.
You know,
Yeah.
the way in movies they say, I feel like you're making me angry. Like, I feel like you're an asshole. You know, things like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't know what you're feeling. Like when I'm just like, I don't know what I'm feeling. I remember calling my friend the other day, and I had like a very irritating client, and I called him. I was just like, this client, I can feel it. I can feel it in my gut. And he's like, what are you feeling? I'm like, I'm not too sure what the emotion is, but I know it's in my gut.
I'm feeling
He's like, it's in your gut. I'm like, I feel like it might be frustration, irritation. I'm not sure, but it's definitely sitting in my gut. I know where it's at. And sometimes going through that process of like trying to understand what you're feeling leads you to the why you're feeling it. And and sometimes it's just like, oh, it has nothing to do with my partner. Like, this is purely me.
It's a me thing.
Yeah,
a
and that's
me
when
thing.
we're reacting, right? We react to things, or there's no solution even there. Sometimes there's not a solution. You just need to let it vent. And in those cases, sometimes saying, right, 15 minutes, let it all out, and then we move on.
And then we
don't
chill.
want to go to bed.
Because now after 15 minutes, emotions will run high, right?
Yeah.
Me, I'll be ready now to, hey, I have arguments.
Round two.
But then you have
15 minutes,
you
I
have
have
to have a
all
cutoff.
the
Bring
philosophies
it.
ready. All the analysis, your
Of why
attachment
he's
style.
the problem.
But this
Time
role play,
outs.
Adele, this role play, and I feel something you said as well brought up something very important, I think, around this topic of emotional intelligence, which is you are not responsible for helping someone to cope with an issue that is theirs, right? That almost makes it sound like we're saying that's a you problem, but that's not what we're saying. Here we're saying that it's also on us to work through our own issues and not make them the responsibility of the people around us. An example is if I have, this is a silly example, let's say I have a problem with alcohol, right? And you two are drinking. It's like me saying you two shouldn't be drinking because I
Because
have a
I'm
problem
here,
with it.
yeah.
No, it should be me to either avoid that situation if I really can't handle it, or to find a way to position myself that makes me comfortable. Would you agree with that? And how, because this can apply in personal relationships and professional relationships. If someone has a problem, is it just their problem?
And just to add on to that, I've been in relationships where someone just tells you, that sounds like a you problem.
Yeah, I feel like it's this, right? And so what I mean, I'll say it in 2 points. One, in a relationship context, and then I'll come back to maybe if it's friendships, etc. I feel like in a relationship, an example is like, as I said, I have an anxious attachment style. Like, if if I don't check my thoughts, you can have missed my call, and in 30 minutes, I have a reason why this relationship is not working. You know what I mean?
Same was up. I'm
Like
the same.
and if I don't catch the thoughts, we're going. Like, it'll just give birth to 10 other thoughts. And by the time I arrive at the end of why this relationship is ending, I can't even remember the beginning thought. Like, and I actually feel physically exhausted. Like, I'm just like, what? That was a wild ride. And so I think I've been in relationships where I've tried to not control that, but instead blame my partner for now, for example, that situation, for not picking his phone, right? Whereas in that situation, he can't catch my thought, Like, that's a me thing. No matter how supportive he wants to be, no matter how many psychology books he reads to better understand the situation, ultimately, who is the person responsible for catching the thoughts? It's me, right? And so that's what I mean. It's like you can't delegate the responsibility of the self-work to someone else. They can only just cheer you on. And they can say to your statement, Akumu, like, yes, it's a you thing, but I'm going to be here holding your hand as you figure it out, right? And it's the same for your partner, like whatever their situation is. I can't catch the thought for them, right? So they are responsible for that. And even in terms of responsibility, you're responsible for communicating what that issue is, right? So mine might be super anxious. So yours is like Jerome's. You had an ex who cheated on you, and so now you have trust issues. You are responsible for communicating the source of the issue so that to give your partner context. And so you're steering the ship and your partner can only cheer you on. It's the same as in a workplace, and maybe it's not as deep as like you're having conversations about who cheated on you when with your boss and your supervisor. But it's like, if you don't work well in groups or if you don't do ABCD, like, it's okay to say it. Like, I work best when ABCDs in place, right? And you're taking responsibility. Your example about drinking, for example, if we're close friends, what I would say is like, hey guys, I'm really having a hard time trying to quit alcohol. So you guys go ahead, have your fun times. Let's meet at a place and time where you're okay not having alcohol, but I also don't want to restrict you guys from having your good time. So you can go ahead without me. But you see, you're taking the responsibility and not cutting short people who want to drink or who want to do their own thing and making it a them issue, right? I think that's what I mean when I'm saying taking responsibility. Nobody else is coming to steer that ship, no matter how much they love you. And it's the same in families. Even if it's a parent dynamic, again, they cannot catch the thought for you. It's a you thing. They can only hold your hand.
Can they, like in this role play scenario where the issue really was Jerome's insecurity, right? So whether or not I communicate everything I do, I'm not solving that issue. So in that situation, would you say it's best for Amy, or in the workplace situation, it's best for the boss to, avoid group teamwork settings because they know their employee works best alone? Or in this situation, is it best for Amy to say, okay, I will communicate everything I do to help you overcome this? Or really say, look, I can't help you. I'm going to support you. Let's go to therapy together. Or, next time we go out, I'll introduce you to those friends, but not saying, okay, let me help you by going out of my way to do this.
I think some people go out of their way and others don't.
But you have to be careful, right? Even like by going out of your way, because like you don't want to lose yourself, right? It's like you don't want to become someone new and then your relationship, both of you are accommodating this monster that is the insecurity. And you shouldn't have to accommodate any monsters, right? And you shouldn't have to change who you are. I think that would be unfair also on both Amy and Jerome's part, because like he didn't fall in love with Amy to change who Amy essentially is. And it's not fair for Amy to lose who she is. And so I feel like in that situation, when you unpack, which is important to say, I feel this way, it's very important to do that, because then you start to understand what is the root cause of the feelings. It's not what Amy did. So it means if the root cause is what Esther did, it doesn't matter what Amy does, Esther is always going to be in this room with us, right?
That's true.
So even if you start saying and telling them like, I'm in the loo, I'm here, or whatever, it's not something else, because what we're not dealing with is the issue of Esther is in our relationship currently. So now if we have a progressive argument and we establish the problem is Esther is actually still here with us, can we bring in an expert to help us kick Esther out of this relationship, right? That's the problem. And so even that argument, I understand that it's not that Amy didn't say where she was. It's that he hasn't gotten over whatever happened in his last relationship. I think it's also important, like, to remember who you are. There's compromise, yes, and there's meeting each other halfway. But I don't think an individual should sacrifice their identity in totality for someone else.
But now compromise, how does compromise work? Because you have to compromise at some point, right?
I feel like, honestly, if it was a real, it was not an Esther-triggered issue, you can ask. I remember, someone once telling me, if you want to know something, just ask. You know what I mean? And, like, you're waiting for me to tell you, and maybe it's not in my nature to just, like, open up. So if you want to know something, that just ask. And I remember thinking, why have I never thought about that, actually? So what are you doing on Wednesday night? Oh, I'm going out with the boys. You know what I mean? And then the conversation was so easy. And I remember just being like, I feel like I've unlocked a superpower here, And it's very straightforward. And so I feel like a compromise is, you have to feel it out. It's very hard to give like a one-size-fits-all because honestly, I hate that, especially with online stuff, we do a very one-size-fits-all approach to relationships, and it's not like that. But you have to feel it out. You have to feel if here I'm compromising too much, like I've lost myself, or I'm uncomfortable with doing ABCD or this. Okay, no problem. I don't mind doing this. You have to feel it out for yourself. But I think what happens is a lot of times we get into relationships not knowing who we are to begin with. And so you don't even know when like you're lost and like you're enmeshed and your identity is gone because you didn't know who you were to begin with, right? But if you do, you're able to know like, I shouldn't be in this relationship, or this one I can compromise here. I don't have a bad feeling about this. But you feel it out, I think, for yourself, and there's no way around knowing yourself first.
Right, so after a 15-minute challenge and some reflections on it, now we need to know, Adele, how did we do out of 10?
Doom, doom, doom. Doom, 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 doom. First, I think Jerome and Amy should break up.
After 5 years.
Okay. Since I said, Claire, you won, I'll start with you. I definitely would give you maybe a 6.5 out of 10. Reason being, I feel like you're not, okay, maybe not Claire, Amy. I feel like you were not fully expressing yourself. I think you were trying to be gentle and maybe then lost your true feeling. That's the only thing. So I would have like poked a little harder. And when I'm sure like, okay, this is her true feeling. So that's the only thing. I'll give you 6.5, which is pretty high in my books. Jerome.
My poor self.
To
Jerome.
start with, he forgot his girlfriend's name.
Right? And then Jacob, you're okay with freaking Jacob hitting on your girl? Like, you're just a problem. You live in Nairobi.
Guess what? It's because I was trying to get emotion out of her.
I hear you. I definitely would give Jerome probably like a 1.5 out of 10.
Oh, that might be one of your lowest.
It is. No, it's the same as Boniface Monk.
Is it?
1.5.
Same rating, yep.
I think you need to take a time out of the relationship, like, and just like breathe and therapy and deal with Esther. She did a number on you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, get help, Jerome. Get help. All right, come back when you've sorted your problem.
Will you still be available? Will you wait for me?
Hey, you made her wait for 5 years.
No, you do you, and I'll go do Jacob.
I was waiting for you to say that.
We'll have a new president. You want to still be there.
We started with Uhuru. Now we are still at Ruto. Hey?
But I think it's a really key a group of really good takeaways from there, which I summed up a few of them earlier, which can be applied both in personal and professional, because understanding the other person, communicating non-violently, taking the time to reflect on yourself and knowing what's important to you and how far you're willing to compromise with the other person. I come across that even more on a more varied level in the workplace. In a relationship, you're two people. You know each other so well. You can aggravate each other just with a look, right? Whereas at work, it can feel more personal, but it can be more dangerous because it can get in the way of you achieving your goals, you keeping a job, someone else keeping their job, right? I once saved someone's job who I was managing because I actually took the time to really understand why is it that she's avoiding work, right? The boss was saying, look, I don't know, she's just not working, so I don't think we can keep her. Whereas I said, okay, let me try and understand why she's avoiding. And I found the root cause, which was completely different to what I thought the issue was.
Exactly.
So then we could work on that. And maybe I don't know if I should have saved her job. maybe it wasn't worth it, but at least I felt like I did. I made progress, right? That was a progressive discussion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, let's take a short break and then we have some more questions.
So, Adelle, this is just a tiny fake glimpse into the world of emotional intelligence, which I guess is part or should be part of everyone's day-to-day. What does the concept mean to you in your everyday life, and how does it impact you?
First and foremost, I think for a long time we've been told being emotional is a weakness, when in essence, it's a fact. It's a fact that we're emotional beings. It's a fact that we're sexual beings. Like, there's so many real facts about us as beings that we're told, oh, it's a weakness, so it's immoral, or it's this. And it's just like, no, it's just how we are, you know? And so I've come to the understanding that, like, me feeling emotions is not a bad thing. It's part of me being human. And so, of course, being emotionally intelligent then is very important in everyday spaces. I think it's helped me understand myself better. It's helped me, because if you're emotionally intelligent, it's not only looking at what are feelings, but are you processing them? Are you communicating them in an effective way, at an effective time, in an effective space, right? And I think it first starts with that, answering those questions for yourself. And so that's where I start. It's like important for me to understand the feeling, and the example I gave earlier of me feeling frustrated by a client and knowing that feeling was in my gut. Before, what I used to do is like suck it up and be like, no, don't feel that, like move on with life. And so it's like, if you're not letting your own body communicate its feelings to self, how are you going to communicate feelings to others or allow others to communicate their feelings to you? You're not. So now I kind of sit with my feelings and I'm like, oh, wait, I feel something, or somebody has said something and I felt like a ting. I'm not too sure why I feel that way. Let me sit on it for a week, And now I know that not only do I need to process my emotions, but I can communicate my emotions. They're valid. And so I've been able to tell people, hey, 2 weeks ago you said ABCD. I don't think I liked that, and I think I didn't like it because of 1, 2, 3. And maybe what was your intention? And sometimes somebody has had the presence of mind to rectify their behavior or change something, or maybe I misread their intentions completely and I didn't understand, the context they were coming from. But allowing myself to feel and communicate emotions to self first has made me understand how to communicate my emotions to others, and allow people to communicate theirs to me. Those are in like friendships and relationships. I feel like it's also very important in business. Again, as an entrepreneur, you are told there's no space for emotions in business, again, which is a fallacy, because number one, your business is made up of human beings who are driving the business. Number two, you're serving human beings. And so these two parties have emotions. Like it would be crazy to think that there's no emotions in business. And so I've had to learn how to process. You know, that one is trickier because you can't like lash out at a client and be like, "Uko serious?" You know what I mean? You kind of have to be a bit more diplomatic. But what I've learned is like taking a beat, you know, like to just be like, what am I feeling and why am I feeling it? And sometimes you're projecting fears because maybe it's like an account you really wanted and there's an intermediary who's acting a funny way, or maybe they're taking long. And you're like, I had planned for this project to come in. And so your communication might be marred by all of that and you're projecting. So it's not about this one thing they've done, which is the delay. You're now coming in with the heat of your entire business plan for the next 6 months or whatever, and you're projecting it. And so I've learned to take a beat before I react or send emails. I've learned to speak to the spaces where I feel safest. So I have a friend who's in business and similar business to mine, and I call him and I just like runt. I have friends who I talk to. And sometimes I'm also like, some things don't need an immediate response, you know? So I'll get an email and I'll be like, let me think about that. I don't know how I feel. Let me think about it. I'll get back to you tomorrow. And even with like money, you know, emotional intelligence is needed when you talk about business and like, especially if you're in the gig economy or creative economy, you arrive with so many emotions into it that you can just accept any amount thrown your way. You know, to really understand what you feel about what is being presented to you, it's okay to take a moment. And I've been on calls with people. I know in the intro you talked about like the skincare brand. And I remember when I was having conversations with them and they said, okay, this is what we're offering. And I said, well, I take my time with numbers, so I'm going to get back to you. You know? And the next time we were extending our contract, they said, don't worry, we know how you work. We'll give you... And I was like, great, you know? And so I think it's so important in so many ways because people come to conversations of all types with emotions. And if you know how best to communicate your emotions, how best to receive emotions from others, you will win in spaces, including business spaces, right? And I always say people do business with people who they like. What is like? It's emotion, right?
It's an emotion, absolutely.
Nobody wants to do business with somebody who's like lashing out and like screaming, or you're just like, no thanks. So I think it's a skill people need to hone, but it first starts with you allowing yourself to feel. And I think what a lot of us do is we just betray our needs and we're just like, I don't want to feel that. It feels uncomfortable. Pack it up, you know? But you should first start by learning how to feel for yourself. Yeah.
I guess putting yourself in someone else's shoes and saying, if someone else is trying to understand me and I'm not showing my emotions at all, and I'm bottling them up, then I'm not helping them to understand me. Yeah. But at the same time, what you're saying there is also don't let your emotions cloud your judgment or drive your actions too much. You will be driven by emotion, but if you act in the moment, you might make a decision that was just driven by that emotion, that moment. Whereas I'm a big fan of, I snooze my emails. Not snooze, but like I put a star next to them. Yeah. The ones I need to think about, I will come back to. Yeah. Because if I react immediately, if I'm angry or annoyed, I will not make the best decision.
And get in the habit of communicating it. I think I sent an email last night. Someone had sent me, a potential partner had sent me stuff, and I said, hey, I need time to think about this. I was like, first that email was long, and I was just like, hey, I'm not making a decision. And they were kind of like, we need to go. And they'd call like my colleague, like, get her opinion on this. And I just said, hey guys, I need to think about this, and I kind of have realized like there's no urgency in life. There's really none. And I want to make a decision when I know when I check internally. I know I talk about my gut a lot. That's where my emotions sit. I can feel like, yup, we're meant to do this, you know?
And I think it's important also. I mean, me and Claire, we are two. It's perfect because sometimes I want to react to something and I will tell Claire, please react.
You need to react because
Please
I will
write
react
the
too
message
emotionally.
because if I do it, it will come out badly.
Yeah.
So I think you also have to know the times you can't do it and it's needed. Delegate.
Yeah.
Claire is my person for that because
And vice versa.
I handle with emotions sometimes.
And sometimes I just don't want to deal with someone if I know that I don't like them.
Yeah.
Right? Or I don't like how they're going to react or how I'm going to want to react.
And it's not bad. Like, you see the time you're taking, the beat you're taking, I think you said you react with emotions. That's not bad. The reason you're taking the moment to understand your emotions is so you can communicate them effectively. I feel like if you communicate when you're in a heightened moment of emotion, the point can get lost.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we're not saying like take a minute to disregard the emotion. No, it's so that you can be like, I'm feeling this because of this. I don't like it. I like this instead.
Yeah.
And so when I come back to send the email, it's not like, screw you and your money. I didn't even want it anyway. It's more of, it seems to me that our values are misaligned for this project.
Oh,
Perhaps
well.
in future we could be, you know what I mean?
That's a skill I need to learn.
But
That's
then
why we get Claire to
when
write
you
some
take
things.
the minutes, it becomes clear and you're still communicating the same emotion.
Yeah.
Those two emails are communicating the same emotion.
That's a skill.
Exactly.
Diplomacy is a skill.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was trying to kind of sum up in my mind what you just said. If you react immediately, you're communicating that emotion. You're just communicating the emotion and it will get in the way of the actual content. Whereas if you communicate later, you might still have that emotion there.
Yeah.
You felt it, you've gone through it, but you can communicate using that emotion to guide your response as opposed to it just being the response.
And once you know
I'm annoyed.
yourself, you know you need time.
Yeah.
Ask for that time. Like just say, hey guys, let me get back to you in 2 days. It's even for their own good because they could be receiving big words if they
And funnily enough,
they push you.
I often try to give people that time because I know I need it. But
Yeah.
sometimes other people, they have different personality to mine, so they don't need it.
They
I
want
was
emerging
interviewing-
agencies.
Well, like I was interviewing for someone we need to hire, and I said, we'd love to have an idea of your salary expectations so that we know what to expect, right? And if this is a good fit, if we might be a good fit for you. But just take a day or two to think about it, get back to me by end of tomorrow. And some of them would say, okay, thank you, I'll think about it. And others would say, nope, I know I want 150K.
Yeah.
So, it's good to accommodate for different people, but we're all different. Some
That's
people
true.
don't need to take a beat. Some people need that, or depending on the situation, maybe.
Yeah.
So trying to understand them. So these days, emotions can drive more change than fact can. I mean, look at cancel culture, for example. That sometimes is almost too emotionally driven for my liking. I don't know if you agree. Do you think that we're going too far, or is there a fine balance we can aspire to? We often joke how Gen Z say, oh, I'm not feeling good today, so I'm just not going to work, right?
Mental wellness day.
Yeah, I need a mental health day, or, I don't like this person, so yeah, I'm not going to do business with them at all. And so the business loses money, right? Or cancel culture. Are we going too far in that direction of saying we need to have emotional intelligence, it's the most important thing? Or what's the fine balance we can aspire to?
First and foremost, I think I'm the greatest Gen Z fan. Like, I don't allow for any Gen Z slander.
Oh, our producer's very happy.
Like, I've been at a table with my family and they're all like, Gen Z don't have this. I'm just like, shut up. These guys are dope.
You're a traitor in millennial standards.
100%. I feel like this thing, we over-glorify struggle and suffering. And because we didn't have the balls to say no to it, we're mad that some people can be like, no, I don't want this. What? Learn from them. Like, I want to be that. I wish I could be,
That's courageous.
if I could go back to when I was working and have that courage to be like, I don't feel like this. I don't like it. You know what I mean? And that's valid. In my books, I feel like your feelings are very valid, 100%. Even when it comes to business, let me tell you, there are contracts I've refused to do because inside the feeling was off. And I was just like, I can't put a finger on it, but something. And the people who went ahead and did it, they saw fireworks, right? And I'm like, so I've always thought there's a huge room for feelings in everything that we do. Even with friends, if I just get a little feeling, a little feeling that something is off with this one, I trust it 100%. I don't have to wait to see what it is or what was backing it. I'm just like, you're wild. And the reason I say this, I'm going on a tangent, but I'm definitely going to come back to your question. And the reason I say this is because at the end of the day, we are animals. And our intuition was in us because we used to live in the wild, right? And it was there for a reason. So if I get a feeling, just because now we're in buildings and like we don't have to worry about a lion or whatever type of dangers like back in the day our ancestors had, just because I don't exercise my intuition muscle as much anymore, doesn't mean I shouldn't listen to it. It's there for a reason, right? And I don't question it. That's number 2. So no Gen Z slander, and like my feelings and intuitions, like they guide me. I don't have to wait to find out, to get proof as to why this person is off. This person is just off. The thing about if we're taking it too far, I feel like I don't know who's been cancelled. You know what I mean? Especially when you look at like men, and specifically like white men. Are they still earning? Yes, they're earning. You know what I mean? And they're not only like, so if you look at, let's say, if it's Chris Brown, is this guy selling tours? Like, isn't he making money? Right? So has he been cancelled? You know, and I kind of like understand it came from the thinking of deplatform harmful people. But I don't know if it actually deplatforms them because they're still earning, right? And so my thing is with cancel culture, I look at it in a different way, right? And I look at, like, let's say the social media space in a different way. I feel like anger promotes engagement. And engagement is what all of these platforms want because they want you to stay on fighting John in Ruaka. I have nothing against Ruaka. I just thought about it now. Fighting John in Ruaka about Ruto's last move. Right? And you and John have no power, right, on changing that. You and John have no... you're not even thinking about boycotting anything. You're not even reading the finance bill. But you are on Facebook or X or whatever, going toe to toe. Who's the winner there? See those platforms, right? And like, I wish we would just love knowledge, you know? For example, when like the Facebook whistleblower came out and he was talking about like rage baiting and why that was so important for them, you'll understand that what lands on your timeline is what the platform thinks will get you angry enough to engage. So if now you know that, then you understand, well, then what is in my control, right? One, I can control what I want to engage with. Yeah. I can control how often I'm on these platforms. I can control where I get my news from. Because when you don't control that, what we're being taught is that it's now normal for us to react with anger first to whatever it is, to whatever. If you look, I once posted an orange tree, a picture of my tiny, now dead orange tree.
I'm sorry.
Finally, I know, right? Finally giving me fruit. And someone was angry. And I thought, this is bananas.
What?
No,
this is actually bananas.
Oranges.
Yeah.
It's oranges, not bananas.
Yeah.
Even I didn't get that.
And I was like, no, I know what my tree was. No. But like, you're being coached to be angry first. That is not a no. Okay, if you want to be angry every day of your life, that's your prerogative. But personally, I'm not trying to wake up angry. I'm not trying to go to bed angry, you know? And so there's that. I feel like even with cancel culture, for example, the examples I've given you who are still earning and making money, do you think the people who are buying their tickets don't know what these people have done that's harmful? I'm pretty sure they do, right? Let's even bring it home to Kenya, right? Like, I don't want to get you guys in trouble, but like, our lame-ass president goes on this trip where he's twirling.
And there's been a lot of controversy around it.
And got tons of money from the US and never said what he gave in return. The next thing we're seeing, where it's not only Haiti we're being deployed to help, now Yemen, we're going to be going there to help fight. You know what I mean? And you'll see people online. I mean, it doesn't take you don't have to have a specific surname or come from a specific tribe to see bullshit, right? And so you will see people online still cheering him on and saying, don't say bad things about your country loudly. You'll still, if Ruto calls what's it called? If he calls for, I don't know, a rally now or whatever, there will be people there. And some of them will be young. And some of them will be young people who have engaged with this nonsense he's doing on Facebook or on Twitter, etc. So my thing is not about the cancel culture. It's about the individual deciding to stand for something, right? And so if I know I do not platform abusers, I will not have their music in any of my playlists. I will not pay, even if it's 100 shillings. Guess what? So I'll make your millions, but my 100 shillings is not going to be part of that. That's how I actually stand for something. I think for a long time, we're waiting for somebody else to make a big change, you know, when it comes to people who are harmful or whatever. But it starts with individuals, right? And it feels so easy to cancel someone in a tweet, but it almost seems hard to change your behavior that supports this person. Why? Why can't you change your behavior? Why can't you see, like, this politician is tricks? I'm not messing with him. I'm not going to tweet this. When they pay people to tweet about them, I'm actually going to cancel them in my personal life, right? I'm not going to play this person's music. I'm not going to watch this person's film, and I'm going to stand for that. Even just in friend groups. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's like we're talking about Chris Brown. Sorry, he's a bit far. Even Ruto is a bit far.
You can talk about Jacob.
Freaking Jacob, right? And you know that's a reality in so many friend groups, right? And people will be like, that's just how he is. What? So what do you stand for? Nothing. Because you're hanging out with somebody who's a harmful person, right? And so it's kind of like, I think people need to introspect and like really walk the talk. If we're talking about change is uncomfortable. Like, it doesn't come on a silver platter. You're going to lose friends because you stand for something. You're going to be at odds with your family because you stand for something. But like, if you don't do it, I don't know who we're waiting to come and do it for us. So I just feel, that's what I feel about cancel culture. And when it comes to like online and how we're just being normalized to be angry all the time, it's strange that we're okay with that. Strange.
Okay.
I hope like all views are mine and not of the yes,
All views
podcast.
represented
Please,
are views of Adelle Onyango.
and whatever, come for me, not for these lovely ladies.
No, this is why we ask the questions, to really understand.
Yeah.
And we don't disagree. I don't think.
Jacob.
Adelle, we can't thank you enough. This is such a huge societal question, right? And a skill that can be learned. and developed, but not learned overnight, right? This is a soft skill.
Yeah.
But you've managed to boil down some key ideas for all of us to apply in our day-to-day, and hopefully to make everyone's lives a bit easier, a bit better. And we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you for saying yes to coming here.
Oh, I see what you did there. Thanks for having me.
So you can find Adelle everywhere on all social media platforms, right? Using at
Adelle Onyango.
so Adelle with 2 L's
and an E.
Onyango as
And
an E at the end.
your other empires.
Legally Clueless Africa on Instagram and TikTok.
Okay.
Do check it out. It's possibly one of Kenya's earliest and biggest pioneering podcasts, right?
Yeah.
All podcasters, when they grow up, they want to be you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You know that, right?
No, don't be me. Be yourself.
And of course, you can find us, the Yes Girls, on all platforms. That's at Yes Girls Podcast. And if you need each of us, that's at Half Baked Claire and at Akumu Fiona.
And of course, some thank yous.
We check in regularly on our marvellous producers, Simpisha Productions, Rioba and Ernest at Snowball Industries, Nairobi.
And we've got a good feeling about Pedro Brian, the phenomenal musician who composed our theme music, as well as Kags, who designed our logo, a logo that makes me feel everything. I borrowed that from a movie I'm yet to watch.
One more thing before you go, Adelle, that we ask all our guests. What is something you've recently said yes to? Apart from the drum set we've seen you jamming on. We've seen you
I know
eyeing the
you were
drum
going
set
to say
downstairs.
that.
I was going to say yes to
no.
drum classes.
No, another one.
Oh my good Lord. What have I said yes to? Okay, it's boring. My life is so... It's not so...
It can be as small or as big as you
Yeses
like.
can be boring also.
Yes, it can be boring.
But
they
it's an
can-
episode. Please make it interesting.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm going to keep it PG.
Oh, now I'm intrigued. What's the non-PG version?
after we cut.
We'll
Tell
pretend
us.
to cut the mic.
Oh my goodness. Let me keep it boring. Yeah, my life is boring. Let's just keep it. What have I said yes to? I've said yes to... Guys, this is so difficult because it's not the drum classes. What the hell? Why do you know I play the drums?
Your Instagram.
Oh, yeah, there's that. I have said yes to... Okay, honestly, today, it's not even sexy at all. I said yes to going to a homes expo. I'm at that age, guys.
Wow.
And, like, it got me excited. Can you imagine that? Like, to go and see homes. But there's this company...
Okay. You're trying
that
to
can
convince
help
us.
you build homes from like 1.8 million, guys. Like, it's pretty interesting. I want all of us to like
It's
have
like
our
eco.
own homes.
It's eco. Oh.
And so I'm going there and I'm pretty excited about it. I know it's so boring.
It's
but
not.
the like the PG version of my answer would be terrible. So I'm just gonna stick with my homes expo.
Hey,
We want to hear the other one.
emotional intelligence is we hear you, we
Exactly.
validate you.
Thank
That
you.
is your priority right
Thank
now.
you, Amy.
Do it.
Jerome.
Yeah. Remember, I'm single now, okay? So if you're too nice to me,
I did not agree to
call
the
me.
breakup.
Call me, yeah?
See you on the next episode for more saying yes to 21st century life skills with a live studio guest, because I am Akumu.
And I'm Claire.
And I'm Adelle.
And together we are
The
Yes Girls! Go on. What's your EQ?